This is Wizard Yaoen and Will Love Light and Magic. Today we have a very special episode because I am covering my views on Grammatometria, otherwise called Gematria, Numerology, Isopsephia, etc. Now, because there is so much ignorance surrounding the modern occult philosophy and particularly even Grammatometria, we will invoke my father's Uncle Henry knife that he gave me as a kid. It's very beautiful. I suggest everybody try to pick one up. It's only like 20-30 bucks. So here we'll get a pick to just try to kill the naysayers here a little. Spaghetti-o factor X's. This is the Y chromosome going off on the top of everything. Unrestricted. Completely. I don't really need, I will need some new bed sheets eventually because I leave the next Thursday. So that's the only thing that hasn't been done. Otherwise, yeah, you can wait till tomorrow. I'll try to get them in a little bit. I'm kind of doing. Yeah, can you do that? You can just knock me in tomorrow. I'll be ready. Probably. Thanks. Okay, sorry for the interruption. I had to answer the door. The door? That's D. Dalet, number 4, right? No. Okay, here. We are discussing Gematria and what I call Grammatometria. So my name is Wizard Yaoen, and I've been able to do some groundbreaking work on Grammatometria. And so I have to reveal that and express my views on the subject. And that's all I'm doing. And I welcome the adept to draw their own conclusions. Absolutely. So, you know, we're cutting off heads pretty much. Put it bluntly. Blah, 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 blah. So let me get right into it. I had to kind of make a little outline on this one because the points are a bit complex. So let me read a little bit. I've written a bit about it before, so just let me read this. Grammatometria is my preferred word for what is known as Gematria, Isopsephy, or Numerology. It means the measure of the letters in Greek. Gramma means letter, and metria means measure. So the connotation with Grammatometria is that we are measuring the letters. It's my favorite word, partially because of the Grammatometria of the word Grammatometria, but the word Gematria is too related to geometry as the measure of the earth. And it's also kind of a bastardization in Hebrew for the word geometry, probably. So Isopsephy was the Greek word for the process of Grammatometria, and that means of equal stones. So the Greeks would pretty much use stones to count out the words sometimes, and it got correlated to two words being of equal stones, meaning they were of equal value. Like the letter omega in Greek. Well, there's no parallel, but that would be like 800 stones. And then another word that happened to equal 800 when you calculated the letters up. If that equaled 800, they would both be of equal stones. So I just don't, it's kind of outdated. We don't use stones anymore. Use like a calculator. So I don't like numerology because that's the science of number. There's a lot of art and and very subtle enlightenment gnosis going on as the adept enjoys the process of Grammatometria. So it's not numerology. There's no science of it's not a exact science or anything like that. It's an art and a science because it follows logic. If there wasn't any logic to numerology, every alphabet could be rearranged and given every number value, and it would quickly just become meaningless. There wouldn't be any importance to it. So the whole process of doing numerology is trying to find some relevant meaning, and it's a superb science and art to the right adept. If done with a bunch of ignorance and non-solidarity of philosophy behind it, if you don't know the ground floor basics of it, and that's what nobody really has achieved yet, and that's what I achieved in 2001. I was able to pretty much thoroughly go through the logic of Grammatometria. So we have to keep going here. So pretty much between 1999 and 2021, 2001, I solidified my views pretty much with upon Grammatometria. Again, I do use the word Grammatometria. It equals 1011 in metric Greek. And let me see, Apollo, I think it's Apollo. Something's Apollo. 870 plus 39. No, that wouldn't be. Let me musical phone calculator. Let's see, I didn't actually check, but it should work out. Yep, Apollo. There it is, 1,111. It's just 1 plus 80 plus 800 plus 30 plus 30 plus 70. And so Grammatometria in metric Greek equals 1011, which is the same as Apollo. And Apollo means the brilliant. He's not just a beefcake or athletic dude. It's also high reason and brilliance of mind, brilliance of mentality is Apollo. Played the lyre, like supremely wonderful music, just everything scholarly, almost, but not quite scholar, because with beauty. It's not just rote scholarship or bland. It's taking the gnosis of divinity and pouring it out through action, whatever that is, like a wonderful discus throw, perfect, body form, or an exquisite music composition, wonderful oratory, so that's Grammatometria, and that's Apollo. So it's of high knowledge, high reason. Now, also, the 1011, you can interpret that as a binary tetragram of the Yi Jing. So the largest place value is at the bottom gram. So you guys probably won't be able to corroborate what I'm saying, but 1011 equals the air of fire tetragram of the binary system, and that correlates to the King of Swords. So it's almost the Ace of Swords. King of Swords equals Grammatometria, and swords is the suit of mentality. So it's brilliant mentality. So I love the Grammatometria of the word Grammatometria. And it's a beautiful word. It just means the measure of the letters. So we are basically measuring letters and correlating words all together under one number to see if it gives any clues about that number's meaning. And you can, once you kind of mastered Grammatometria, the divine can communicate you a little bit within that language. And there's a lot of hidden knowledge within Grammatometria. I can't really get into that too much. You just have to read people's writings and see how they make use of it. Some people will overdo Grammatometria. It's kind of like you have to follow the gossamer wings of the most inspired butterfly is one. There's an art to Grammatometria, and if you just try to do it with too much reason or logic, you'll reason out. So it's very interesting science and art, Grammatometria. I was able to do a lot of good work with it myself. But we're going over the very foundations of Grammatometria right here. And the thing, so all the adept, so here we go into the logic. All the adept really has to do is really love and think two different languages are in their correct alphabet order, and have a really good grammatometric number, meaningful grammatometrics within their language, so that the adept doesn't want to change anything. So let's use it as an example. Hebrew and Greek. Most adepts will not be wanting to change any of the alphabet order of either Hebrew or Greek, because those grammatometric results of those languages are pretty strong, pretty interesting. So grammatometricists working with those two languages, very rare that they would be wanting to change place values of those alphabet letters, especially with Hebrew. Greek's a little bit more shaky because it has some outdated letters within it that hold their place value within the number code. For instance, the old sixth letter of Greek was digamma, pronounced as wa, and that got phased out, but it still holds its place value as the letter for number 6. There was a change like way further down the road where it gets kind of correlated to the letter conjunction ST, but I deny that as correct, because as I may get into, it's the reason it did that. It got confused in the ligatures between that digamma and the ST conjunct. So there was like confusion within the visualization. And so it was just an error on somebody's part, and then it got kind of stuck where ST can be valued at 6 if you want to. In Greek. Anyway, that's a little bit off topic right now because we're trying to get real simple into the foundations. And so I discussed the name. I like Grammatometria rather than the very common Gematria, Numerology, etc. All right. So, as I was saying, for my kind of logical spiel to work out, the adept needs to appreciate two languages, Hebrew, and we're using Hebrew and Greek as those. So if the adept theorizes that both Greek and Hebrew have good alphabet orders and the correct place value upon like descending number, then it's hard to come to the conclusion as it's like a romantic thing to do is to imagine like a ultimate language of God. Some people naively think that there's an ultimate language of the angels, of God, and somehow if we could just know those supreme phonetics for the alphabet, like a supreme alphabet, like the one true alphabet, we would be able to, wonder have, just the wonderful speech, just this. Oh, sorry guys. I guess that was the answer to that. There is, it's proven as impossible because the adept, if you assume Hebrew and Greek are in their correct alphabet orders, you can't assume one phonetic for each place value being ultimately true. So let's go into it. Where do they differ? I think well, how about their ninth place value? So in Hebrew it's tet with T, a T sound, and then in Greek it's theta with a th sound. So, if you're a perfectionist looking for that one ultimate phonetic for the number 9, you're going to be kind of scratching your head because truthfully, you probably think that the Hebrew and Greek alphabet orders have some pretty good grammatometrics already associated with them. So it's hard to theoretically state that there is only one ultimate phonetic for any certain place value of an alphabet, is what I'm saying. Once you learn to appreciate the mercuriality of various languages, you're making a little bit of headway. Okay, so just as I was saying, there likely is not one perfect phonetic for any certain place value number within an alphabet. Let me state the obvious then and say there's not one true glyph. There's not one true form of an alphabet letter for any certain place value number. There's not one perfect phonetic, nor is there one perfect hieroglyph for any certain place value upon an alphabet series. And that's proven by once the adept starts examining the number orders of the languages, and if that adept concludes that 2 languages are probably correct, then it's illogical to assume that in one place value order there will always be the same one ultimate phonetic or one ultimate letter shape. Okay? So that's basic logic of the foundation. So now my stance is there is not one true alphabet letter or true phonetic sound for any one number along the alphabet place value series, okay? Because I love Hebrew and Greek myself, and I don't want to change the letter orders. You could as just an experiment, but it's, you know, that would be a alternate. Just would put it as an alternate order. You know, this stuff can be studied creatively, but you just need to keep defining exactly what order you're using. And, you know, this stuff is going to be studied in depth eventually. Science will come around. So that's what I'm doing here, pretty much. Giving it the foundation for further study. So let's keep going with the foundations, and let me say all alphabet orders, whatever alphabet you can think of, almost, are correlated to each other by place value number. So the alphabets that have a letter for a place value, those all can be correlated together just by their common place value number. It's real easy. You just kind of line them up. The 30th, if there's a 30-letter alphabet, every 30th letter will just be in the same line. It's obvious. So that's all we need to say about that. And so another final thing that not many people logically conclude, but is the most logical. It doesn't really have to make, you don't have to think it makes total sense, but the tarot, you notice how the tarot is in kind of an alphabet-like form, and that it has a series of 22 keys traditionally. Those are all in sequential order, and we could take the tarot to be kind of like an alphabet, because it's correlated to place value number as well. So that kind of gives us the essences behind all the alphabets. Now, it's not like direct parallel. I use the example of the Hebrew Yod. That's traditionally correlated to Virgo in the tarot. It would be absolutely silly to think that is all the Hebrew letter Yod represents. I mean, it's just that's absurd. So it takes part of that number 10 as Virgo. There's a little bit of it, but it also maintains its traditional Hebrew letter symbolism as well. So it's not just because one thing's, you know, you don't get too matter-of-factly with your correlations, because there's an ultimate divinity going on down here. So you don't want to grind everything into the dirt. It's not the true perspective. It's always infinitely liberated at the top. All right. So we said, okay. So let me state this. This is how I first broke with the traditional number of tarot keys. So here it goes. Only one tarot essence can be assigned to each place value number. From the tarot, we get the essences, in quotation I call them, and that just is a general word for all the different correlations of the tarot, like air, Mercury, Aries, whether it's an element, a planet, or a zodiac sign. I just shorthanded that into tarot essences. and I say only one tarot essence can be assigned to each place value number. Because I noticed it's not when, like in the normal tarot right now, the most common magical attributions for it, 2 of the tarot keys get doubly attributed. And number 1, as the Fool, is either air or spirit, and number 22 is the Universe, is either Saturn or elemental Earth right now within the system. And I realized back in 2001 that's probably not correct. There probably should only be one essence, tarot essence, per place value number. Because once you get into numbering like a pentagram, like of the 5 elements and stuff, you can't even number a pentagram within the current tarot because there's no real key, there's no real tarot key for spirit. If you tried to number a pentagram now by the elements as found in the tarot, there's not even an elemental earth really. So what you would have to do to number a pentagram, you would have to use the number 1 as spirit and the number 1 as air. You would have to use the number 22 as Saturn for earth, and then the water and fire are in the 22-fold Hebrew alphabet as 13 and 21. But my point is, well, you have to doubly use 1 as the Fool, and then use the 22nd letter to represent Earth, where it's actually Saturn, just to number a pentagram currently. So my intuition was, man, I bet the tarot may extend out to contain the essences, at least so that they are not doubly attributed upon the tarot. So it's logical, and I did that. I expanded it out in 1999 actually, but so the major point that makes Grammatometria magical is that there is only one correct alphabet order of every language. If there wasn't one correct alphabet order of every language, it would just make Grammatometria pointless, because there wouldn't be any mystical or solid foundation, a magical foundation of it. If you could put every letter of every alphabet in every place value, there wouldn't be any meaning to Grammatometria. It wouldn't mean anything. Okay, that's good enough, right? So, a lot of people currently only use one number order for one language usually. It's absolutely absurd. You should at least be using the serial. I won't even get into that. But what I want to say is there is an infinite number of grammatometric orders arising from every alphabet order. So if you put an example we'll use is English 1 through 26, and so what I call the serial alphabet order is just 1 through 26. Just the series 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Okay? I even forgot what I was saying now. But anyway, if you would flip that all around and letters being all over, any letter being 1 through 26, English wouldn't even matter. So, so let's just get right into that with the 1 through 26. That's the serial order, I call it, because it's just serial. It's just like sequentially according to place value. And I wager that is the most direct possible way to number a language without any obfuscation, is good enough, because the most popular number order historically is what I call the metric order. So that's different from the serial order, and then after the number 10, it starts going decimally. So let me just state it. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. And that was to the 26th place value. So the serial grammatometric order goes just serially down, but the metric goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. So it gets more into the higher number value range there. So pretty much every alphabet should at least be plumbed by those two orders. All right. So let's get into a little bit more recondite number orders, but they're based upon the serial and metric order. Hey, I get to use a diagram here. So this is the master key, I call it, and it's the 4 major non-alphabet specific grammatometric orders: 0 through 9, 1 through 9, serial, and metric. And then I also include the alphabet letters of 7 languages: English, Sanskrit, Tibetan, Hebrew, Greek, Latin, and ruins. So it got a little, just on a page, the Sanskrit and Tibetan got a little wonky there, just because there's so many of them. There's 35 Sanskrit consonants and 30 Tibetan consonants, but we see the parallels here. So let's go into 0 through 9 serial. This is you basically just use the units place value of the serial order. Okay? So you can take this serial number 32, it's the 2. 32 equals 2 in the 0 through 9 order. That's just how it works out. But it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a little misnamed, but it has to be named that way to differentiate it from the 1 through 9 metric order. So 0 through 9, it's actually not 0 through 9, it's 1 through 0. But that just doesn't look weird. It just doesn't look good, so I just call it the 0 through 9. But basically, after the 9th place value, instead of numbering that as 10, you just number it as 0. Okay? So the next one is the 1 through 9 metric order, and that's a digital order based upon the metric order. So where the largest place value number of the metric order, you can easily see that that's what it equals. So we'll just take this serial number 34, the 34th place value, the metric number associated with that is 7,000. So in 1 through 9 metric, that value would just be 7. You just keep going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then at 37, the 37th place value, it's just 1. Okay, serially, we have 1 through 37 here, really nothing to further comment upon. And now here's the metric order. It goes all the way to 10,000. It stops right at 10,000, which I love, because that's like the 10,000 things of Chinese philosophy. But not really. Not really with this. It's the, this is the truest degree there is, pretty much. Except for this one and you know, these two. Anyway, so here's the English alphabet. Right here, according to their place value, where Z equals 26 and 800. So here's the Sanskrit alphabet, Tibetan alphabet, Hebrew alphabet here, Greek alphabet, Latin, and runes. And these are a little shaky, but I guess if you looked at them closely, we'll get into them, though. I'll get into them. So let me put this down, and let me see here. There are some alphabet-specific grammatometric orders, and I use as an example the letter names, like of Greek. So Greek equals 532. The Greek alpha, like alpha in Greek, equals 532. So you can use 532 instead of the number 1. Plug in that letter name, and you have the number 532 instead of the letter 1 for the first letter of Greek, A equals 1. So that's, you can begin to see. I didn't really discuss how there's an infinite number of variations, but that's, you know, that's certainly one variation. But basically, how there gets to be an infinite number of number codes beyond just these 4, you can permutate these numbers however you want. Like, I could use 0 through 9 squared. I could invent that and say, I want to use a 0 through 9 squared grammatometric order, so where every 0 through 9 value is squared. So it'd be 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, and then 0. And then keep repeating that. So that would be a lesser order of the 0 through 9, and you just call it 0 through 9 squared, and you know, denote those word values, etc. So that's just one example. You can permutate these numbers infinitely, is my point. So there's an infinite number of grammatometric orders for every alphabet order. So the key ends up being to find the magically correct alphabet order of a language, and then you're set, pretty much. Except for if there's different rules for the language, which there are usually not and should not actually be. I do want to state, like, this only works with alphabet orders that have place values associated to them, and it won't work with Chinese, Japanese, etc. There's a little bit of numerology with those in their stroke counts, but it doesn't really relate to these Torotic-based place value alphabets, okay? Oh, 1 second. Just... Sator Repo Texet Oper Rotus. All right. I think we can get into the individual alphabets. I don't really see any obstruction. That's pretty much the foundations of Grammatometria, as simple as it is. It's just those 4 non-specific alphabet orders. And if people would have been able to see that, there would have been a lot more progress made within Grammatometria, because people would have been working with the serial and the metric order. So you have people just using the serial order with the Elder Futhark runes now, and you have people primarily just using the metric order with Hebrew and Greek. See, there's not, and there's no scholarly, like, we need like computer programs busting out the data, and there's no research. Nobody's really done it too well as yet. So making headway here. It'll eventually, I'd love to see that knowledge. I would love to see a real robust number dictionary, and I would also like to see word dictionaries just list a little bit of a number beside their entries. But 1 second. Okay, yep, we can start right with the language. Let's start with, let me roll. Hebrew. Woo! Hey. So Hebrew's pretty easy. That's why I'm happy to discuss Hebrew. I believe Hebrew is in the correct alphabet order. I don't like when the Hebrew letters have their final values. Some grammatometrists think that those final letter values can be valued past the number 22. So, what, like K is the first one, it gets 500, the value of 500, etc., of the final letters forms. Hebrew has final letter forms when a letter is in the last place of a word, like N, for instance. Like N's a real long letter. It becomes a long letter at the end of a word. So that's just a different letter form. I don't really accept that those are different place values. You pretty much have to append those letters at the end of Hebrew. And actually, you would pretty much actually have to hypothesize that alphabet order is 1 through 27 rather than 1 through 22 if you're going to start using those metric values past 400 for Hebrew. And you would also have to use their serial counterpart. So in order to use those final letter forms as a different number value, you would have to pretty much hypothesize those letters after the 22 of tall in Hebrew, which not many people would be wanting to do. So it was just a way to elongate the Hebrew alphabet a little bit. I think there is one cool one I like. Let me see, I think it's using the Ashkenazi dialect of Hebrew where ta can be S phonetically. You get a cool one. I like one for Satan. I interpret Satan as the Ein Sof R. So it's like gold, infinite golden light, the Ein Sof R. So It's a little different, but not too big of a deal. Anyway, the Ashkenazi word for Satan using its values would be 400 plus 1 plus 9 plus 1 plus 700 for N if you used its final letter value. So that's 11. It makes that Ashkenazi Satan equal to 1111. And that's pretty cool. But that's you just have to take it as the normal Satan. For me, it'd be 60 plus 1 plus 9 plus 1 plus 50. And that's 121. So good enough for me. You can't really, it's pretty unsound Grammatometria to assume, to even state that those letters would have alternate number values without putting them in their respective place value upon the descending alphabet and number order. So you would actually have to hypothesize those different letter forms as letters, as further letters of the Hebrew alphabet. So I don't think that's, you can't really go that far theoretically, I think. So okay. So Greek's a little more complicated, but it's pretty much in its correct. It's pretty much in its correct value, but not many people that have not studied Grammatometria know the correct alphabet order of Greek. And even David Allen Hulse got confused on this. So basically, the problem is, like, they want to use a different serial order for Greek than is logically sound. I'll say that. So basically, once you write out the serial place value order that's real simple, and then have those metric correlations, you can see that the Greek omega is valued at 800. Okay? So we know without doubt it has to be the 26th place value letter. You see? It's just logical. And unfortunately, this simple amount of logic was not done in the literature. So we have, say, you could say, I don't even know what they're saying now, but they'll probably say like the Greek omega is like the 24th letter of Greek, but it's valued as 800. And that's impossible. That would not make any logical sense whatsoever. So you would have to somehow propose and specify you're using a different alphabet order for Greek in that case. So that's where Homeric Greek and normal Greek breaks down. People want to use a serial Homeric order for Greek, and then the normal Greek metric order, which is insanity. So the correct alphabet order for Greek I show right here. And I want to point out there's a few place values that I have in quotations. So actually the 6th letter of Greek is defunct now, but it was digamma. Okay? And what is it? The 18th letter for Greek is kopa, but that letter is defunct now too. But they still hold their place value. Okay, that's what people don't realize. They still hold their place value, and that makes the Greek omega the 26th alphabet letter, valued at 800. It preserves the logic. You can't have a 24-fold Greek alphabet and say that omega equals 800. Okay? So that's it. So I hope, I hope for reform a little bit in Grammatometria. So there's a little point of obfuscation with this 6th letter of digamma. It should be the letter digamma, but early on there was a bit of confusion. So I believe if you look up the Wikipedia article of digamma, you can see that the letter shape of F, it's F type letter shape, but it's pronounced wa. It developed through various letter forms, and eventually it looked close to the ST ligature, and it got confused with the ST ligature in print, and then it became the rule that the ST ligature could be used to equal 6, and the most famous case is staros, cross in Greek. When you just use ST as 6, staros becomes equal to 777. And people just like that for whatever reason. I'm saying that's incorrect. That's not magical. That was just a confusion of ligatures. So it should actually be digamma. And Crowley used that to number Iwas in a way. So where it was AI, digamma, A, sigma, sigma to equal 418. So that was fairly brilliant on his part. And that's a valid way to use the letter of digamma. So I guess you have to say no to staros is 777 and yes to Iwas is 418. All right. So now we're going to go into Latin Grammatometria. Okay? This is a tough one because it's not really certain what Latin alphabet order is, because there were various historical manifestations of it, and that's one of the more complex topics of Grammatometria. There's a code that gets developed for Latin called Cabala Simplex that is really not fun to work with in practice, because it changes the KLMN series. It puts K is equal to C, and then makes LMN and O 10, 11, 12, and 13. And that's never seen within traditional Grammatometria. Both Hebrew and Greek preserve that core KLMN number correlation to be the 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th alphabet letters. So to change the KLMN to 3, 10, 11, 12, ooh, that's really throwing it off. Because 11 is usually 12, M is usually 13, and N is usually 14. So I didn't like that trying to practice with it's called Italian Cabala Simplex, and I came to early on prefer a Greek-based Latin, so that So where Latin preserves its Greek numbering pretty much as possible. So we'll have to break out this Latin chart. And here is my preferred alphabet order of Latin. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and then you have to use the theta placeholder for the number 9, and then it goes I, J, both in the 10th place value, K, L, M, N, and then you have to keep the 15th Greek letter Xi and the 15th place value. Then the next letters are O, P, Q, R, S, T. And then here for 22, you can use the Latin letters U, V, W, and Y. And then for the letter 23 is X, and for the letter 24 is Z. So I propose a 24-letter alphabet code for Latin, ultimately. Now, I am up for different Latin codes so we can know the results, but I suspect very much a Greek-based Latin code will come into the fore. And so I write down a few of them here for proof. Achaia in Latin equals 532 metrically, and that's the same value as alpha in Greek. So you got alpha equals eagle, and alpha is air, so it makes total sense that alpha would be an eagle. Arcana, the Latin word arcana means mystery. That equals 156. And that equals Babylon, Crowley's version, B-A-B-A-L-O-N, and metric Latin. So you got mystery equals Babylon. And, well, you know that, you know the quote, and on her forehead was written, mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of earth, from Revelations. So you got Babylon equals the mystery. That's real cool. Mercurius equals 133 in Syro-Latin, and in Syro-Greek, Harpocrates equals 133 as A plus R plus P plus O plus K plus R plus A plus T plus H plus S. Jung's title of his work, called the Mysterium Conjunctionis, the mysterious conjunction, equals 318 in Syro-Latin, and that's the same as theta in metric Greek, the 9th letter of Greek, and it kind of symbolizes the mysterious conjunction by letter shape, where you have the circle and then the little horizontal bar. That's kind of the point in the circle a little bit, symbolism. So it reverberates the Mysterium Conjunctionis. Now here's a pretty good one, Azoth, as you find in Basil Valentine's work. He meant to use the first and last letters of 3 different alphabets, and he used Z is equal to 24 for the Latin alphabet. So Azoth equals 1225, and that's the triangular numbers 1 through 49. So I say sigma, the sum of 1 through 49, 49, 48, 47. So Azoth as 1 plus 24 plus 800 plus 400 equals 1225, which is the sum of the numbers 1 through 49. Azoth is a magical word for Mercurius, the Mercury of the philosophers. And as 1 to 25, it kind of gets a symbolism of the eatingness of the goddess. It goes right into the goddess there with 1, 2, 2, 5, because 1 through 49 are the sum of the magical square of Venus. So, very interesting. It's kind of that which eats a little bit and makes you initiate a Zoth. Is the formula. Like you apply a Zoth to yourself, put some drops of a Zoth on you, you're gonna be going through some initiations. You know. Okay. So Phoenix equals 93 in this Greek-based serial Latin of mine, and that's the best proof, pretty much, for x equals 23, which is kind of weird in Latin because the Greek chi is 24. So, and the English x is 24. So to make the Latin x 23, that really does drop it down to a kind of a holy choral type language. Like, just imagine people singing Latin chorals in a spiritual language where x equals 23 and then z equals 24. So the x equals 23 I find a little bit spiritual and magical. And the proof of that is Phoenix equals 93. So it's kind of a hard sell a little bit, but we're kind of stuck with Basil Valentin's formula of a Zoth, where z equaled 24. It's hard to go against that magical word. And then as I state, Achaia equals 532, which is the same as alpha. I think this Greek-based Latin is going to win out as being the correct alphabet order. But I'm pretty open as far as Latin to first study a few various alphabet orders, because Latin changed so much. So I might even be willing to go against my foundational axiom that there is only one alphabet order for every language. It may depend upon the time history of that language. You could say you could propose early Latin or late Latin as an alphabet order, and then work with those a little bit. And everything's just kind of getting started right now within that science and art of Grammatometria. So I would definitely study a few different alphabet orders. I even have a 1 through 22 Greek-based alphabet order that my favorite's the 1 through 24. I like Phoenix 9 equals 93, and I like a Zoth as etc. There's other stuff, but can't get in. It'd be spinning forever if we got into grammatometric results. We're trying to give a foundation, a theoretical foundation, right here. Now, runic grammatometria, I don't use anything more than the Elder Futhark runes, because I don't like how the younger Futhark changes those phonetics. I confess there's probably a little bit more work to do, but I just use the Elder Futhark 1 through 24. And I think the 23rd rune is the day rune, D, because it's daylight and there's a little bit more light correlated to the number 23 as opposed to the number 24. So I propose the 24th rune is Ophila as O, and it's kind of the homeland, and that, or earthliness a bit. So it correlates with the Chi, the Greek Chi, a little bit. So they're both kind of a little bit earthy. So that's pretty much. I think the runes should be studied and given should be plumbed with both the serial and metric order more. It's currently only using the serial order, which is good, but the metric will bring out some good results as well. I haven't mentioned Sanskrit or Tibetan yet. We'll go to, let me see. Oh my goodness. Do I have to tackle Sanskrit Grammatometria? All right, we'll do it. Let me see if I can find those. Yeah, here they are. So this is basically my key discovery in Grammatometria. Overall, probably what I might probably be remembered for a bit. But this is basically the perfect example of how having a solid foundation within those four non-alphabet specific grammatometric orders, 0 through 9, 1 through 9, serial, and metric. This is how having a really solid foundation and within the logic of that would have really helped researchers out. So stuff was so recondite anyway, hardly anybody was studying it anyway. Okay, let's do a rock and roll on Sanskrit Grammatometria. Basically, you will have to refer to David Allen Hals's first chapter called The Eastern Mysteries. First volume called The Eastern Mysteries. His work used to be called the Key of It All series. But that's the best chapter on Sanskrit Grammatometria. And basically what he found was there was an ancient, probably about 1200, something like that. I don't know. I don't want to even give a date of around there. A number order for the Sanskrit alphabet crops up as being first used as a mnemonic device so they could remember complex astronomical correlations, and it was also later used as a mnemonic device to gain clarity upon which raga, which Indian composition was being alluded to, which raga. There was a little mnemonic notation in the ragas using the Sanskrit number code. It's called Katapayati, the science of KTPY, the alphabet letters KTPY. They just, because those all equaled the number 1 by that order. So it's like the science of KTPY, of the letters KTPY. That's what Katapayati means. So, it's kind of simple to get into. The Sanskritists didn't really fully understand what we just went over, those 4 non-alphabet specific grammatometric orders, but they did follow the 0 through 9 order all the way down to their M equals 25, to the 25th alphabet letter. And then they changed that number order, and we can state it right here if I can find the Sanskrit alphabet order model. Here it is. So here it is. So they followed this 0 through 9 order up until here. So they went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then instead of going 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, after the M equals 5, they started back at 1. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is illogical. Can't be done. So basically from that, this isn't the normal order of Sanskrit I give, it's my new order of Sanskrit, because I had to make the proposition that the Sanskrit alphabet order was actually not in its correct alphabet order in 2001. Because I knew the logical foundations of Grammatometria and nobody else did. So I could see that the Sanskrit grammatists were, or whoever came up with it, probably astrologers, or, something, scientists, they were just using this 0 through 9 order because they probably needed some zero type decimal notation. They could have used the 1 through 9, but they didn't. They used the 0 through 9 because there's 0 place values within the order. But they didn't follow the order logically. After m equals 5, the next letter is Y in the traditional alphabet, and instead of making that the number 6, which comes right after m equals 25, is 6 and 26, they made that 1 and whatever. They just made it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They just started their number order over for some odd reason. And what I conclude is it was just basically magic, and it let humanity find the correct alphabet order of Sanskrit. So I had to do a lot of work with Sanskrit. It's all correct. You can use all the letters except for we have to introduce 2 unusual letters to the Sanskrit alphabet, and the first one is the Vedic La. It's an extended L sound, and that alphabet letter got dropped once Sanskrit moved from Vedic to classical. It actually was just a phoneme, but that phoneme got dropped and then didn't get stuck in the lettered alphabets. But it did actually, it was retained in the alphabets of southern India within their dialects. And it was, the last letter of traditional Sanskrit is Ha, H. It just got tacked onto the N, okay? And so the Sanskritists numbered that last letter H as 8, and then they numbered that last letter La that's only found within their alphabets as 9. And that's where David Allen Hulse actually made a mistake. He has numbered La as 7, but he misinterpreted the information that Dada and Singh in their Vedic mathematics were stating. He misunderstood their logic. And my stance is supported when you look at 2 other texts. One of them is too recondite for me to even remember, but the other is George Buller's Indian Paleography. It's from like the 1800s even. But they explicitly state that letter, La, was valued at 9. Okay? So, just, I guess, research that yourself, but you'll come to that same conclusion. So that's all we needed to actually smoothly create an alternate Sanskrit alphabet order that I think is actually the correct one. And I spent in my previous videos, I've spent a couple hours on the Sanskrit alphabet and its chakra petals. So this is kind of a shortened introduction here. So the Sanskrit alphabet is incorrect in its order after the 25th place value. And my true order is Sha is 26, Sa is 26, 7, Ha is 28, the Vedic lost letter La is 29, the conjunct letter of Sanskrit as Ksha as 30, and then Ya, Ra, La, Wa, Sha as 31, 32, 33, 34, and 35. Now let me explain why I would put that conjunct letter of Sanskrit as the number 30 and include it in a Sanskrit alphabet order. Because those southern Indian alphabet that contain the Ha and then the La after it, when they were exploring the Kundalini system and the chakra and that had devised the chakra petals, they started to use the Sanskrit conjunct Ksha upon the petals, and it was valued at 0. So basically, because they used it and it was valued at 0, I adopted it and put it right into the Sanskrit alphabet because you need actually a place value of 0 right there. And I think there were two major conjunctions. The first is the Ksha, and the second is the Jna, the Ajna chakra, Jna, which kind of symbolizes knowingness because you see it in the Ajna chakra. But Ksha is the dominant one that won out, and that's number 30. I think. That's my theory. So that's my Sanskrit alphabet order. You can look at previous videos if you want to delve a little further into that. But basically that changes the Sanskrit alphabet letters upon the chakra petals with the last few petals of Svadhisthana, all of Muladhara, and all of the Ajna chakra. Okay, so we'll skip. You can look at the other videos, but basically, the supreme magic that's going on. We have 2 petal Ajna petals at the third eye chakra, and right here, as you would see it, the first petal by my scheme is Va, and then the last petal, the second petal of Ajna, is Sha. And those 2 letters, if you just look at it, Sha, Va, those are the 2 letters of Shiva. So that's my magical proof that my Sanskrit alphabet order is indeed the correct one, that Sha, Va shows up on the 2 petals of the Ajna chakra, and to denote Shiva, whose third eye is of holy, the Ein Sof R. So that's it in a pretty good nutshell, boys. I will show my chakra diagram just for study. It shows those 2 letters of Sha and Va on the Ajna petals, and it shows exactly how my petals for Svadhisthana, Muladhara, and Ajna, and the Ajna chakra. So we won't really get into it. At Muladhara, it's Ksha, Ya, Ra, La. So a pretty good mantra that to include both the Muladhara and Ajna chakras as being like degrees of the Ein Sof R is just to go Ksha, Ya, Ra, La, Wa, Sha. Ksha, Ya, Ra, La, Wa, Sha. On and on and on. Okay. So we got her going pretty good there. Let's get off Sanskrit now. I think we can. Tibetan's kind of, it's not tough, it's easy. but it just has 30 letters and some vowels. And David Allen Hulse records the most common numbering schema, which I do not find attractive, the best. Basically, it's 5 values. Its 5 vowels can be equal to the number values 0, 30, 60, 90, and 120. And that's not sound Grammatometria. You know, of course, Tibetan should be fleshed out like that, scholarly, given its due with that number code. But I think Tibetan is ultimately like Sanskrit, and its vowels should not be numbered. And it should just either a serial or metric order should be used for it, firstly, without any number values for its vowels. But what I would like to see ultimately, I would like to see if Tibetan can coalesce into the Sanskrit alphabet's place values. Because I know the Tibetan letters, certain of them have been modified to transliterate Sanskrit text into Tibetan. So I would try to use that alphabet that they use for transliteration and correlate it to my Sanskrit alphabet's place values and see if any kind of magical results can come out of that, and then use all of the Sanskrit alphabet, the Sanskrit alphabet's grammatometric techniques, which are a little slightly unique to it, but you know, see if we can use those for Tibetan with any good results. But I will emphasize that the serial and metric order are probably the best overall for even Sanskrit or Tibetan. Like, for instance, Sanskrit, it's not a traditional order, but you can just use these serial values. And let me use as the example Mana Pura. As long as they're qualified by a vowel, and maybe if they're not even qualified by a vowel, but Mana Pura equals 93 in serial Sanskrit, 93. It would be 25 plus 20 probably. Let me do it real quick. Pura. Oop, that's not correct. Must be the 15. Yeah. So it's the 25th letter M plus the 15th letter N. I didn't know which N it was offhand. And then it's the 21st letter P, and then the 32nd letter Ra. So Manipura, 93. Huh, who would know? Me, since I calculated it serially, while having frosted flakes in half and half. No, just kidding. Okay. So we got through Sanskritam, and I related my views on Tibetan. So now we can get into, let me see here. I think I've already discussed runes. It's just basically 1 through 20. The Elder Futhark runes are just 1 through 24, with D and O as the last alphabet letters, and then just start to apply both the serial and metric upon that. Runes is a little hard because all the words are kind of like reconstructions a little bit, but you can get some good ones. Like, for instance, should I even reveal it? I can't even reveal that. So it's a secret name for Nuit in the runes. Okay. That's it. That's all I can say. Whoa. Okay, so now let's do English. Let me comment a little bit more on English, and let me get a little bit of study here. Basically, there's so much confusion, conflui-dooey with the English alphabet, because nobody really knew its grammatometric order, and nobody had the simple foundation that I just gave you guys of the four non-major the four major non-alphabet specific orders of Grammatometria. So they don't even, it doesn't even depend upon an alphabet. They're just number orders. You got the 0 through 9, the 1 through 9, the serial, and the metric. Okay? So it's just these four number codes. These are standard codes. These are always the most dominant codes of every language. Any language. Pretty much the serial order is the most direct, because you see how it orders sequentially without repetition every place value, and without any separation, whereas like you've got between 9,000 and 10,000, you've got 1,000 numbered separation in the metric order, but you just go 36 to 37 in the serial order. So I think it's the most direct way to number place value is serially. So I actually think that's the most dominant order, aside from the metric order being used in most alphabets historically. So I would say serial, metric, and then those 0 through 9 and 1 through 9 orders. Probably the most direct. But let's see, we're doing English. We're doing English. So that foundational knowledge that I just stated right there, that all got thrown to the wind. It just got thrown out of the tricycle factory that those guys were working at. So with English, with Aleister Crowley's Book of the Law, you basically got a bunch of crazy Thelemites trying to discover the true grammatic order of English that unlocks the Book of the Law and proves you as the magical son of a gun, for all time. But so that's what happened. They lost their theoretical foundations, and all sorts of crazy grammatometric orders for the English alphabet began cropping up. So let me state, there's never going to be a more direct alphabet order than just 1 through 26 for the letters A through Z of English. That's the standard. You could say metric is the standard if you want to, but it's either the serial or the metric. So when you guys are using those crazy, far-fetched alphabet orders and number codes for the English alphabet letters, you're using alternative codes. You're using alternative alphabet orders, and you're using alternate number codes for English. You did not somehow discover the supernal truth of the English alphabet's number code, I assure you. You went cuckoo in the Dooku. You went cuckoo in Count Dooku's shoes for yourself, pretty much. So that's so let me get into it here. So the confusion began when Aleister Crowley received his Liber 27 Book of the Trigrams, Book of a trigram of the he used a dot, a solid line, and a broken line to represent three different things, and then wrote a book of those 27 permutations of those grams, and then said, hey, this might correlate to the 26 letters of English, and it might encode a secret number order, even though there's 26 letters of English and 27 verses of his Liber 27. So, it created quite a crazy little deal there. But the real, because Liber Legis, chapter 2, verse 55, it says, thou shalt behold the order and value of the English alphabet, or something like that. But everybody just interpreted that as being referring to Aleister Crowley. Thou shalt obtain the order and value of the English alphabet. Thou shalt find new symbols to equate them unto, or something like that. So that was just everybody's first assumption. Well, thou means Aleister Crowley. Okay? So no, it does not. Thou is referred to as perhaps a prophet to come after Aleister Crowley. And it's not, thou does not mean Aleister Crowley in every use of the word thou in the Book of the Law. So basically, I think it's talking to somebody else, I'll say. And that person obtained the order and value of the English alphabet, and he could have obtained the serial order and value of the English alphabet from David Allen Hals's The Key of It All series in his English chapter. Or he could have just obtained it, looked at it online. Anyway, I myself was using the English order since 1995, and I'm not sure. I may have thought to do it as myself, or I could have been inspired from David Allen Hals's work. I'm really not sure. But I took the serial English of A equals 1 through Z equals 26 up enthusiastically as a young adept. I had a lot of fun with it, and still have a lot of fun with it. So, okay, so basically, that's the flaws of logic that screwed up the proper understanding of the English alphabet. So where in modern times, I'm not even sure that A equals 1, Z equals 26 is the dominant grammatometric order being practiced by the majority of magic type people right now. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that cropped up with crazy alphabet orders. So there's only one alphabet order of English, and if you assign like Z to the number 3, you're not just assigning the number 3 to Z. You're saying that Z is in the third place value. So it's a third. So you're saying Z is the third alphabet letter. That's what you're telling me. Okay? So when you say like A equals 5, B equals 10, C equals 3, D equals 7, what you are proposing in actuality is to change the sequentially progressing English alphabet order so that it is in line with those new place values you are stating to me. And that's absolutely crap. English has a pretty good a good little rhyme to it right now. You remember the little rhymes like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Try doing that with crazy alphabets. Here, I'll do it with one if I can find it. This is I think the first order of appearance of each English alphabet letter as found in Crowley's The Book of the Law. So somebody went through and said which letter comes first within the Book of the Law, and said, hey, maybe that's the correct English alphabet order. as concealed within Crowley's Liber Legis. So this is how it would sound. ETOHASINRLDUFMYMBCGPKVJXQZ. So, you know, they just didn't, the people just didn't think out the logic enough with as far as it concerns Grammatometria thus far. And so the most glaring example of how the art and science of Grammatometria can come in and figure some stuff out is my noticing of the Sanskrit alphabet was in its incorrect place value after the 25th letter Ma. So that's amazing. That changes the Sanskrit letters upon the chakra petals even. And puts Shiva as the two last letters of Sanskrit right upon the third eye chakra. So it totally clears up everything. It's amazing, it's magical, it's holy. It's the balance. 12. I think we got her going, boys. Let me check this little thing of right hands. Yep. So the tarot's correlated just sequentially down to all those alphabets, and so some is better than others, and you can gain additional insights. And I concur. The tarot serially runs right along with the alphabets, and that's how it's basically correlated without exception. And despite what any traditional people have tried to theorize, it's amazing, kind of. So the one point of most confliction, as I remember it from looking at the symbologies, is the 21st letter Laguz in ruins. 21st letter Laguz means lake or water, and that seems like directly opposed to the 21st tarot card's meaning of fire. So like Laguz is kind of water and ruins, but is equal to fire. How's that work out? So the esoteric key there is the let me write a large one. I'll just do it on this paper. So here is the Laguz ruin, the 21st Elder Futhark ruin Laguz. What the key is to imagine this as the Viking ship's head. The Viking ship's very top point, not even sure what it's called, but imagine this, instead of this, it's a phoenix. So imagine a phoenix head on the very tippy point part of a Viking ship, and that's what this represents actually. So it represents the funeral, it represents a Viking king having a ritual burial. Like after he died, you put him on a Viking boat, light the Viking boat on fire, and send it out into the lake to eventually burn up and dissipate. So that's how, even though the 21st letter Laguz means water, it actually symbolizes that phoenix fire upon the lake of a Viking ship burning, with its, I think it's masthead. I don't even know what it's called, but this would be at the very front of the boat, and it would be in the form more of a phoenix head. This is kind of the phoenix wand of the adepts. So that's my magical take on that. You done with it? I can't honestly know what else to say. This is called the master key. I like just the name for the numbers, and then all the alphabets that we can lined up according to place value. So the Sanskrit, it not only unlocks Sanskrit and the Devanagari alphabet, it unlocks all the Gupta, I think it's Gupta is the early language, all the Gupta-based alphabets, and that's basically the entire Indian continent of alphabets, and some other countries as well, will get that Katapayati-based alphabet, but in my rectified and corrected Sanskrit order. So, very important, very great. I was like, wow. So it shows that if you have a little grammatometric foundation behind you, I discovered the true order of the Sanskrit alphabet, discovered quite a bit of English grammatometric knowledge, etc. I was able to see that the 6th-letter Greek can't be ST just because there was just a confusion of ligatures. That's not magic. All the languages at least need plumbed by the serial and metric order. There needs to be such scholarship done. You get a few academics working on Grammatometria, they would be able to create large databases of words. It's really, Grammatometria needs to blossom because it's holding up a little bit of magic research, honestly, not knowing all the correlations. So, anyway, we got it pretty good. Got it pretty good down here. 20, I'm going to end it. This was Wizard Yaowen and Will Love Light and Magic. If I didn't say do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law at the top, I'm saying it now. Abrahadabra, love is the law, love under will. Crusoe.